Hi, it's Straightney, your wellness coach. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this week's video, I want to talk about decision fatigue, what exactly it is, and share some ways to overcome it or to manage it. So, decision fatigue is basically getting to a point where you're not making the best decisions for yourself because you're so exhausted from making too many decisions. So think of it as, how you feel at the end of your workday or the end of your work week, where you may take on the thought process of, I don't care, whatever. I don't have the capacity for this, or I don't have the mental stamina for this. So all of that, a big part of that is decision fatigue. And what happens with decision fatigue is oftentimes it leads to procrastination, where you keep pushing off the actual decisions that you need to make, the ones that are relevant, or it leads to impulsive behavior. This may seem something like, you know what, tonight I'm just going to have the bag of chips in the pantry for dinner. I don't know what I'm going to cook. So that's more of that impulsive behavior. Or it can lead to complete avoidance. So if there is a big decision that you need to make, you don't have the energy for it, or you're just so exhausted from making all the other mindless decisions that you choose to avoid the one that you really need to make. It can also lead to distractions as a way to cope with it. Eventually decision fatigue can turn into chronic stress, as well as burnout. And some of the ways that you may be coping with these emotions is, by turning to alcohol, or, you're trying to figure out which workout to do. You can't make up your mind just because it's the end of the day. You don't want to make another decision. And what happens? You just choose to sit on the couch instead. Or there is something that you do need to spend some time working on, and some choices that you do need to make. But again, instead of making those choices, maybe you choose to watch an episode after episode after episode instead of doing what you need to do. So it can really result in some poor food choices, poor choices related to your mental health and your physical health. So it really has a huge impact on your overall well-being. So that's decision fatigue in a nutshell. Now I'm about to share 5 ways to manage that. These are tried and tested. I use them pretty much on a daily basis, or I have used them very frequently in the past. And, take what makes sense to you. But without further ado, let's get started. So the first strategy that I use is I identify the impact of the decision that I need to make. And I ask myself, how relevant is this decision in the long run? So as an example, sometimes I even get overwhelmed at trying to figure out which movie to watch or which show to watch. And as I'm trying to decide, I may spend so much time looking at reviews, or, just doing mindless back work just to figure out which movie I really want to watch or which show I want to watch. So it's really not that impactful, right? I mean, what difference if I pick movie B versus movie A? I can always pause it, go back and watch the other movie that I plan to watch. Thankfully, we live in a digital world where streaming is so common and so much is at our fingertips. So use that to your advantage. For me, that's not a decision that's going to change my life. Whereas on the other hand, if I'm trying to plan a vacation, or I'm planning on moving to a different city, I'm looking for jobs, those decisions are important because they will have a pretty massive impact on my life. So really try and figure out how important is the decision that you need to make. Then strategy number 2 is I follow the 5-second rule. This is something that Mel Robbins came up with. She's a motivational speaker. So if you don't know who she is or what she does, check her out. But she came up with the 5-second rule. And the way it works is, as you're trying to make a decision, instead of experiencing decision fatigue, You just count down from 5 to 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you make a decision and then you stick with it. So I use this for the less impactful decisions. For instance, when I'm trying to wake up in the morning and I've woken up a little bit before my alarm, or I'm about to hit snooze, and I tell myself, okay, I could either stay in bed for another 30 minutes or I could do a quick workout. Instead of sitting there and really going into all the pros and cons and then choosing what I want to do, I just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's yay or nay. Either I get out of bed or I don't. Simple. It makes it less stressful and less time consuming. Now, for the bigger decisions, I give myself a time limit. I'm not going to use the 5-second rule for something like that. I do want to spend some time thinking over it. I want to spend some time researching and really putting some time and effort into this big decision that I'm going to make. I'll give myself a time limit of by the end of the month, or by the end of the week, or by the end of the weekend. I'll have my decision made. And that is a way to hold myself accountable. It's also a way to get my mind ready and start thinking about what I need to get done in that time frame. So it really helps with knowing that, okay, I need to make a decision by this point. So let me break it down and now figure out what I need to do to make that decision. Now, strategy number 3 is making a to-do list. So I make a daily to-do list the night before. I have this really small diary, nothing fancy. It's just a notebook that I use. And in there, I write down the following day's date and 3 to-do items. I max it out at 3. It's just 3 things that I focus on, just because that helps limit the stress and the overwhelm that may come with a really lengthy to-do list, one that I may never get done with in a day. So I just focus on 3 things. Now, you may want to just drop that to 1, that one big ticket item that you need to get done. And what that does is, so when you wake up, you're waking up less stressed and more focused. You already know where you need to spend your time and energy. So it takes away from everything else or anything else that's not going to contribute to getting that task done. So that's why I only put 3 on there, 3 goals. And again, you can choose to just put 1 down. And going along with that, making a list, strategy number 4 is I really try to not make decisions when I'm tired. Nothing good comes of it. When I'm feeling that exhausted, frankly, I don't even make a decision at the end of it. I may spend time mulling it over. I may spend time making my list of pros and cons. I may do a lot of research, but at the end of it, I literally walk away feeling more frustrated than before I started doing this and started making the decision. So when you're tired, just set it aside. Let your body recover, let your mind recover, and then come back to it. This is not a do or die situation. It can wait. So take a little bit of time to recuperate. And then strategy number 5 is it helps to have a routine, because that helps you plan ahead. And it really helps with not making too many mindless decisions. So, we are part of a world where we make decisions from the moment we get up till the time we go to bed, right? You're making decisions at work, at home, with your friends, your family, your coworkers. I mean, it never stops. So the more you can simplify your life, the more you can eliminate some of that decision making. So having a routine really contributes to that. For me, that's knowing my bedtime and what time I wake up and trying to stick to that as much as possible. When I was living by myself, that included meal planning. So on Sundays, I dedicated 2 to 3 hours of my afternoon just meal prepping for the following week, so that come Monday through Thursday evening, I'm not trying to figure out what I'm going to have for dinner. I knew what healthy options I had available in the fridge for me to consume. So really setting up myself up for success. For you, if you're headed to work the following morning, and every morning, if you have a hard time figuring out what you're going to have for breakfast or what you're going to wear to work, maybe lay out your clothes the night before, or maybe the night before, get some stuff prepped for whatever you want to eat the following morning. Maybe have a bowl and your spoon ready and the tea mug or the coffee mug out there. So try to make things easier for you, not more difficult. Try to streamline them as much as possible. Now you're not always going to be able to stick to your routine, right? That's life. Sometimes you need to adapt. Sometimes you need to be flexible, and that's okay. There may also come a phase in your life where you need to completely revamp your routine, and that's fine too. Depending on whatever season you're in your life. For instance, if you've welcomed a baby, a new baby, or you're an empty nester, you may have to make some pretty drastic changes to your routine, and that is acceptable, but make those changes and then try to maintain that routine, because it will really help you eliminate the decision fatigue. It will help you keep the stress at bay and will help you keep the burnout at bay. So to wrap it all up, 5 strategies to help you cope with decision fatigue. One is really identify the impact of the decision. How relevant is this to your life? How much of an impact is it going to have on your life? Strategy number 2 is follow the 5-second rule for some of the smaller decisions, and then set a time limit. Give yourself a deadline, basically, for the bigger decisions. Strategy number 3 is make a to-do list. Stick to at the most 3 items, or you may even just boil it down to 1. And then strategy number 4 is avoid making decisions when you're exhausted. Nothing good comes of it. And strategy number 5 is have a routine so you can plan ahead and stick to that routine as much as possible. As always, take what works for you. If there are some other ways that you use, some techniques that would help me or other viewers, please put them in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about what I do and how I can help you develop healthy habits and stick to them, check out my website. It's www.imperfectbodies.com. Imperfect Bodies is one word. If you're looking for a free guide for ways to manage stress, check out the link below. Click on it and you'll be able to access it. If there are any other topics that you'd like me to cover, drop them in the comments. I'd love to know what else I can share with you. In the meantime, have a really good week, and I will catch you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.